Hey everyone, Zizaran here. Wanted to make a quick update on a couple of things like the Essence Drain build, and I want to talk a little bit about the Slayer and the Gladiator guides as well. Obviously now Legion has been live for a little bit, so we have a little bit more info to give, and I wanted to make a quick update video. So I ended up league starting with Essence Drain. It was a really strong character. Very happy with how it went, and I ended up changing it. So I've done 3 and died on 3 now. And yeah, let's just talk about it a little bit. So the first death, and maybe we can get a clip of that playing in the background, but it was basically, I think it was Marketh or Hyrie archers, and they shoot extremely fast. There's a couple of rares from each legion, which are a bit, well, as most people know by now, crazy overtuned. You can, I was fine doing like tier 15s, tier 16s, and things like Shaper, and I'd be happy, very confident doing Uber Elder too. Um, and I'd also be fine with any other content. However, a random rare in a tier 10 map can one-shot me, right? So that's a little insane, which I don't necessarily think that it needs to be nerfed. Probably for the best if it does. However, it's a little out of tune with the rest of the game when you can do tier 16 content and bosses without being worried about like a tier 10 rare with 0 or 1 damage mod. That should potentially not be the scariest part of the game. Maybe the like Uber Elder and Shaper should be scarier. I don't mind. Like I think scary is pretty cool. But yeah, they fire crazy fast. So because of that, we ended up changing in the second build to go acrobatics and face acrobatics. And that means that the perfect form is not necessarily the item I would go for anymore. It's not necessarily the best. Before you weren't, I was very like careful and thinking I don't really want to do acrobatics a lot. That's 30% less energy shield, and energy shield is such a like important survival factor here. So we changed that for the second build. I ended up getting a Restless Ward and taking Overcharged. And I don't think that's actually what I died with. I was trying to 6-link my Restless Ward, and I was using this as a temporarily one. This is also a great chest. And this character that I have up right now is Zizaran Quickly Slain. I'm not going to delete that because I was very happy with how it was and how it turned out. Overcharged, it's very hard for most players to keep this up. So I'm still not recommending that in my build guide. You can try it if you get a Restless Ward, then it might be easy enough. But you do have to clear at a very high pace to keep it up. So this is what I ended up with. I was going to get rid of Prolonged Pain and get in Weave the Arcane once I got enough damage, like a 6-link and a Restless Ward. Because it's, for me as a racer, very big clear speed, having the 20% attack and cast speed. And I can also do no region maps, like maps where you can't regenerate anything. For new players, I think this is what I'd end up recommending. Patient Reaper is really nice for mana sustain and stuff like that. And I did have a lot of feedback from players that they're struggling on mana. And that's my bad. I didn't really make that clear enough because for me, an experienced player, you can easily think of like how to solve that. I didn't really think about including that in the guide. It's sometimes hard for me to think about what should I recommend to new players, especially when we're making 5 or 6 guides before the it's not out yet, right? When we're making these guides, we're just trying to, based on our experience, put out as much content. And most people did have a great experience with it, but I ended up having to say, take Soul Siphon if you're having mana problems at least 200 times a day, and that's on me. So we'll try to think a little bit more ahead and try to anticipate everything. I'll try to have like a checklist. How does the player solve each and every problem? So in the future, we'll have that even more clear. So Soul Siphon is really great until you get Patient Reaper. Also, make sure you throw down 1 Contagion and then 1 Essence Drain. You don't have to spam it. That helped a lot of people as well. So this is pretty much the skill tree I ended up with. So I'm not taking these over here. I definitely recommend Acro and Face Acro. Restless Ward is a great armor. A high Sadist Garb like this. I crafted it with Dense Fossils, which means it's hard to get Energy Shield and Life. But because you'd most likely have to craft it afterwards, you can't hit the life roll naturally. The second death could potentially have been avoided by a Basalt Flask. I got a little cocky because most of the time I would have Fortify up. I had 3 Endurance charges, and I was like, you know what, well, for the rest of the game, that is fine. That's enough mitigation to not get one hit. And you barely do ever get hit on this build. So I ended up with something like 60 dodge and 64 spell dodge because I had a boot enchant as well. And it was great. I felt virtually immortal. The only problem is obviously Legion. So in the second death, I died to a slam, which was, coming from the top down of the screen. There was no warning, and it's also partially bugged, the second death, because the second monster that killed me is called a Berserker. And what a Berserker does is when the monster goes low life, it gets crazy damage and attack speed, and it's just hasty and super dangerous, right? But that's because the player's meant to be able to kill it quickly. A lot of people have Cull, so you're like almost insta-killing it. And generally when a monster has 30% left, you've already been fighting it and you're probably dealing damage to it, right? So for the most part, Berserker isn't a problem. In Legion, this feature is bugged, so when you break them out of the shell, any Berserker is instantly already Berserking from full life, right? Because they're not fighting when they're in their shell, so when they're out, they're just out Berserking the entire time. So if you do get one of these and they're next to anything with an aura or scary monsters, you're dead. And we've had a lot of people say, like there was one guy playing a Juggernaut with 9k life and 6-7 endurance charges, and he got one shot by these, right? So it's nearly impossible early in the league to get enough mitigation for these things, right? Some things with the way, and they are being nerfed from what I hear. I don't specifically know if these rares are being nerfed, but they're nerfing at least the red wall. So they're working on things and tuning it down a little bit, but it's very out of line with the rest of the game. The main reason I don't like it so much is I don't particularly feel like random rares is what we should be scared of the most. Like, I'd rather be more scared of like uniques and bosses, not just a random rare in a map. It doesn't feel like what I should be the most scared of. And while some of their attacks are fairly telegraphed, they're not exactly... we can take my last death as an example. And we had a lot of people on Reddit were commenting and discussing my death. And I'll try to get a clip of it playing here in the background. And a lot of people are saying, well, it's a fairly slow and telegraphed attack, but it's something like 0.4 seconds, which isn't actually that slow in a game. I definitely wasn't fast enough for me to react to. It also does not look like a scary attack. There was a Reddit comment that I read and I really liked. It was like someone saying, this like grinds my gears really hard. Everybody keeps talking about how it's a slow and telegraphed attack. And while, yeah, Zizaran might have been able to avoid it, that is a speck of dust heading towards him. Like, it doesn't look like... as an example, there's like a huge nova in Delve, right? The huge plasma ball heading towards you. That looks like something that should one-hit you. It's super slow, and it just looks like it should be doing 20k damage, right? Because it's very easy to avoid. That does like 2k damage. It does nothing. I would be completely fine without one-hitting me because it's so easy to dodge, and it's just like poof, this huge ball, right? Does nothing. But a small speck of sand, just like thud, thud, thud. God knows how much damage it does because it one-hit me, and the character I died on, while Fortify wasn't up, I had a Basalt. I had 1 endurance charge. Sadly, I didn't have 3. So still, I didn't have my Restless Ward ready. Restless Ward might have helped a little bit because it would be an additional 8% fist mitigation. But this was a tier 13 map with 2 damage modifiers. So, it's a little insane. But, yes. So that's sort of like an update on my build choices and why we ended up with what we did. There's not much more ways of getting more mitigation. Unless they nerf the rares, you're randomly going to get one shot. There's not much you can do. There's another person running virtually the same build, Steel Mage, and he's managed to get really nice gear. I think he should be mostly fine because he has something like 6.5 or 7k life and 3k energy shield. So, very, very beastly life. But yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying the Essence Train build. Obviously, it's both really good for hardcore and softcore. On hardcore, I would be terrified of any tier 10 or tier 9 map plus with it if you're doing Legion. If you're not doing Legion, there's nothing you have to worry about. You can go really deep into Delve. You can do Uber Elder. Be fine. It's just like tier 9 and above. Like a tier 9 rare might kill you in Legion, so be careful of that. Next up, I want to talk about the Slayer and Gladiator build. I am a little bit... so, I basically failed to make it super clear that Pulverize was going to be there instead of things like Brutality. I used Brutality as a placeholder, and I tried to make that clear in both the video and the Path of Building. A lot of people didn't watch the video and just open up the POB. We've updated the POBs for both the videos, and they're in the videos. But obviously, when we're making these guides, we don't have all the gem info ahead of time. So what I do normally is I just use placeholders. I'll try to make that more clear in the future, or maybe completely avoid using them at all. So this is like the final setup. Infused channeling is currently bugged. It's still a really good gem. I think I'm actually using it in my cyclone gem on my berserker that I'm making. But you're missing out on the infused buff, so it'll be ridiculously best in slot gem once that's fixed. And I think I had Gladiator's Perseverance on the two-hander build by accident. Obviously the Gladiator and Slayer builds were very similar and it went a little fast. So it should mostly be up to date in the POB. And another thing that I didn't really think about was it kind of run out of gem slots. So endgame, you want to drop your Ancestral War Chief. And something I found was really nice with your newfound slots is Endurance Charge on melee stun on your Leap Slam is great. You're basically always keeping up your Endurance Charges just with that. So you just got to keep making sure you're Leap Slamming. Val Molten Shell as well. If you have a Lion's Roar, then you're already getting quite a lot of armor just from that. And a Val Molten Shell, insane. So good. So, yeah. Really strong setup. And it just basically works as like giving you a 5 or 10k life buffer. Very strong. Would recommend that. Hopefully you guys are enjoying Legion, and I hope the builds were good. I had a lot of positive feedback on it. Obviously, a few people had some issues, but we were able to clear that up whenever somebody joined stream and asked about them. So if you do have any questions or you do run into anything, you're always welcome to drop by my stream, twitch.tv/Zizaran. And just a gentle reminder to my YouTube viewers that I am doing a big giveaway on the 15th, which is, well, I'm making this on the 14th, so it's tomorrow. I'll try to do, I think we'll do the giveaway somewhere around 1 or 2 p.m. British Standard Time, BST. So, that's the same time as London. So, not 100% set in stone. I'll make a exclamation mark giveaway countdown command on my Twitch channel if you want to figure that out. And I'm giving away $1,000 of Path of Exile supporter pack. This isn't sponsored by GGG. This is my own money that I'm buying supporter packs with to give away to you guys. And I'm doing this every 15th. So hope you join me for that. I'm also going to try to get some like Displate codes to give away. I'm sponsored by Displate now. And you can use the code Zizaran to buy things there for a discount. But we're using a lot of that money to give back to you guys. So hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for watching, and try to die less than I do.